Hiya! Welcome! Here we are once again, the start of a brand new week and another edition of Minidisc Monday. Today's is number 51 and we're going to look at an album released in 1997, the debut studio album from this artist here, Finley Quaye, and this is Maverick, A Strike.
Even after all the murdering that go on, even after all, oh, you are suffering so. You know I love you so. You know I love you so and so. Even after all, oh, I'll let you go on. It's the order of the day, and I'll let you believe, sir, it's the order in this society. You know I love you so.
Or it could be Maverick A Strike, I don't know. I'll call it Maverick A Strike, and then when someone realises I'm wrong, they can correct me in the comments. So, released in 1997 from the Scottish kind of reggae slash indie artist Finley Quaye. This was a pretty cheap mini disc from what I remember when I bought it many years ago. Only the second time I've listened to it in full today to do this review. And before I get on with telling you about the tracks, we'll have a look at all the packaging. So quite a scuffed case, but it's on its hinges, unlike the Sex Pistols 2 weeks ago. Bit cracked on the back, but it's holding together. There's your disc. No clue really on the album artwork that it's called Maverick A Strike, but that's what the album is called, with the album artwork stuck on that side. Flip it over, we've got the track listing, and of course the usual legal bump. As for the booklet, a kind of funnily folded concertina style, so I'm not going to really get this open, but some nice shots of Finley there. One thing amusing that I did notice was on the back page, or what I think's the back page, assuming I folded it up right the last time, was the thanks he was giving to certain people, and I'll read some of it out. To the people who in one way or another helped to use time, pictures, words and sound to communicate, to enlighten and maybe to eventually become as one. Thanks to the benevolence, Rolf Harris. And then he goes on. David Attenborough, that's fair enough. Wynton Marsalis, David Bellamy, Patrick Moore, a few other people, but it's just funny that he started with Rolf Harris. And for those international viewers, or certainly those who don't live in the UK or Australia, who are wondering why that's so amusing, Wikipedia, Rolf Harris. Alright, so Maverick A Strike, the album. So this was quite a hyped album when it came out. I think it got to number 3 in the UK chart. Co-produced by Kevin Bacon, but not that Kevin Bacon. It's mainly a reggae album, I would say, but it does have certain other sounds and influences. Of course, it came out really at the sort of peak end of Britpop, really, and there's certainly a indie and alternative slant to Finley Quaye's work here. There's also other genres of music, I would say, that is certainly heavily influenced by, like soul, bit of jazz even, which isn't that surprising because his father was the famous jazz musician Cab Quaye. We'll go through the tracks and I'll let you know my thoughts on some of them and on the album itself. So it starts with Ultra Simulation. I think that was the 5th and final single that was released from this album. It was pretty good, that proper sort of full-on reggae track to open with, really, and one of my favourites on the album. Track 2 is Great When We're Together. Came out as a single. Nice sort of summery soul slash reggae kind of feeling to it, really. Pleasant, didn't overly excite me, but I've always quite liked the song. I do remember hearing it back in the day. Track 3's probably, I would say, his most famous single, or his most famous song. I don't think it's his highest placing in the charts overall, but I think it's the one everyone really knows, Sunday Shining, which is really, it's like a cover of Bob Marley and the Wailers' Sun is Shining, but he's altered the lyrics and changed the title to Sunday Shining. Good track that, enjoyed it, always have done. Then we've got Even After All. I think that was his highest placing single in his career. It did get top 10. Pretty good, didn't massively excite me really, and that's kind of becoming a theme for this album really. Ride On and Turn the People On is next. Okay, The Way of the Explosive is next, and then Your Love Gets Sweeter. Another famous, or relatively famous, considering you don't really hear from Finley Quaye anymore, but certainly around 97, 98 you'd hear these tracks a lot on, say, commercial radio for instance, and I think at least Sunday Shining did feature in some TV commercials, although which ones offhand I can't remember. Do like Your Love Gets Sweeter. Supreme I Preem is next, another sort of more hardcore, if that's the right term, reggae track. Probably one of the more stronger ones on the album again, I did enjoy it. Sweet and Loving Man is next. Then we get to Red Rolled and Seen, which is really sort of an instrumental dub track really, which I didn't mind. None of this album really is absolutely thrilling me, and that's its problem really. Then we get to Falling. Penultimate track is I Need a Lover. Very repetitive lyrics in that, and basic lyrics, seemingly quite lazy really. And this is another problem really. I mean, Finley Quaye throughout the vast majority of this album, he sounds so laid back, he could be falling over at any moment really. It's just all very chill, let's get stoned. He wears his influences on his sleeve, certainly, and I can see why this album appealed to a kind of Britpop and alternative audience, as well as its kind of base audience of presumably UK-based reggae fans. But it all feels a little bit lackadaisical to me. And then the final track is the title track, Maverick, A Strike, and it was a pleasant enough way to end the album. But there again, nothing on here apart from one or two of the singles is overly memorable. It's all very forgettable, and I feel I've struggled to make this review really, even though I've only just finished listening to the album. It's just a very bang average album really. It did well and it got good reviews, but it doesn't hold up really. I like reggae, or certain reggae, certainly. This to me just feels like he's sort of cosplaying at it a little bit and is just not putting his full heart and soul into it. Someone's discovered him somewhere, he's signed to Epic Records, and they've said make an album, just make it a little bit indie with reggae and a bit of soul and what have you, and I'm sure you'll do well. And it did, to be fair. I do have his second album on Minidisc, Vanguard, and obviously that will get reviewed eventually in this series. There again, can't remember a damn thing about it. Whether I'll like it more than Maverick, A Strike, I hope so, because I can't really recommend this. I just don't think it's good enough overall. It's got some nice singles on it, a couple of good proper reggae and dub tracks, but overall just not really for me. But this was a cheap Minidisc when I bought it, I believe. So that was Maverick, A Strike by Finley Quaye. Thank you for watching Minidisc Monday today, and I want to give special thanks, of course, to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now, and please join me in 2 weeks' time, because we're starting another themed month. I'm not going to tell you what it is this time though, you have to wait and see in 2 weeks. But from the first Monday in December, running right through to the end of the year, we're going to look at 5 themed albums, not all by the same artist, but they've all got a common theme, or in my head they have anyway, and we're going to look at 5 of those mini discs for Minidisc Monday all throughout December. So in 2 weeks' time, please join me for the start of all that. But until then, I'll say my goodbyes and ask that you join me again next time for the next glorious edition of Minidisc Monday. Cheers everyone. See ya!